Let's dance.
So we decided that we want to switch things up. There's too many real estate podcasts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so we're going to do this in Spanish. Oh, and without our AirPods in. And so what's interesting about this is I only have 1 unit of Spanish from my freshman year in high school, and Julio speaks fluently, right?
Yes.
Yeah, fluently. So, buenos dias.
Buenos días, Mateo. ¿Cómo estás?
That's the extent of my Espanol. Let's scratch that.
Come back to it later.
Yeah.
Next time we'll try Swahili.
Yep. Welcome to episode 3 of, what's this thing called again?
Real Talk.
Real Talk with Julio Sandoval and Matt Beatty. I'm Julio Sandoval.
And I'm Matt Beatty.
Yep. Today I brought notes. I'm prepared.
Good. This is going to be fun.
Because it's going to be more informational than fun, so everybody should just turn it off right now.
Then we have to make it fun. If it's going to have information, then it's got to be fun information.
I think we both have interesting stories with regards to dealing with HOAs, HOA documents, HOA reserves, pending litigation against HOAs, just like different things with regards to HOAs. They're not all built equal.
Yeah, created equal. Yeah. Well, I guess we should start with then what's the definition of an HOA? What is the function of an HOA? Let's go that way.
All right, so the HOA is a homeowners association, and it's made up of resident owners who are voted in to manage the complex, the common areas of the condominium complex, the townhouse complex, and sometimes it's a mixture of the two.
Yeah, and so what their function really is just to make sure everything's paid for. Balance sheet's done, there's enough money in reserves, so if there are things like a roof that needs to get fixed or repaired, then they're there in order to bring in the money to take care of it.
Yeah.
Now sometimes those HOA dues can change, right, based off of certain projects or improvements that they're doing on things. So yeah, it's a function of helping out to maintain the property just as you would if you had a house, right? So if your roof starts to leak, you would have to have money saved up somewhere in order to get it done.
Sure.
The HOA is collecting money, has the reserves available in order to make sure that they get these projects completed.
Yeah. Another thing to know about HOA reserves is whenever you buy a home that is in a condominium or townhouse complex, you're going to get the HOA docs. And in the HOA docs, we'll have the reserves there. And it's very important to make sure that there's a significant amount of money there should something unforeseen happen that requires repair. Because if they don't have enough money, you get special assessments.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we could kind of back this up a little bit and why we're addressing this. Okay,
Yeah.
So we're really talking today about condominiums, townhomes, and PUDs, or planned unit developments. And the reason why we're bringing this up is that with the rising home prices, the alternatives start to become more enticing. So you as a first-time home buyer may look at an area that you want to be in and say, if I buy a single-family house, I'm going to be up in the $800,000-900,000 range, but maybe I can get into a nice condominium at a purchase price of $550,000-600,000.
Yep.
What does that look like for a payment? What does that look like for equity? So I'm going to throw it to you. If you're looking in this area, how does that affect your equity position to be buying a condominium or townhouse versus a single family? Because that's kind of what I hear when I'm talking to clients.
Well, thank you for asking, Julio.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so I get that question a lot. It is, I'm getting bid out on these houses. I'm considering condo or townhome, but will I make as much equity there? And I have some really interesting information with regards to that. And what it is a 5-year track of the median sales price for single-family residences, condos, and townhomes. And those read as follows. So since 2017, single-family residences have gone up 64% across the whole MLS. Median price in 2017 was $495. The median price today is $773. And the reason I don't use averages is because you have properties like this one in LA that's selling for 200 million, and that skews the whole thing significantly, right?
Yeah, moves it out of the normal range.
Because I looked at the averages, and the super high dollar condos in LA and things like that just made it not realistic. They're saying average sales price. This is on InfoSparks, which is fed by the MLS.
Yeah.
Average sales price is $973,000 for a condo. It's like, nah.
Yeah.
So I went to the median.
Okay.
Since 2017, condos have gone up 62%. The median sales price in 2017 was $450,000. Today, it's $718,000 median across the entire MLS.
Wow. And okay, so let me ask you that question. So you're seeing that spike in the median, okay? And when you look at it by area, because it's like you said, there's a lot of things that have a tendency to skew it. If you look in our Long Beach area, we're starting to develop more of those high-rise condos that you see down on Pine Avenue and in our downtown Long Beach area. How much do those numbers, those type of condos, skew the rules versus, you know, someone looking at a condo complex of like 20 units versus the 100-unit complex?
I'm super glad you asked that. Okay, so just so everybody knows, there's still the $350,000 one-bedroom, one-bath condo. You know, maybe not in the best neighborhood. You know, you've got your $420,000 condo in a decent neighborhood with 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, maybe 2 baths, 1 parking, maybe 2. You know, gated, safe little community. You've got your $500,000, $600,000. But the median, what that does is it grabs the lowest sale, the highest sale, and then they grab the middle number right in between those. So you and I both know if you buy a condo for $718,000 in our market in Long Beach, you're going to be looking at a very nice condo. Probably a fairly recent development, spacious. So I don't want to detract or deter anybody with these numbers. What I'm trying to show is that there's massive equity growth in single-family residences, condos, and townhomes alike. And so, before I was so rudely interrupted,
so sorry.
I'm going to get on to the last one. So, the biggest increase, and nobody would ever think this, I would never think this, was townhomes. Townhomes went up 67%. So let's recap. SFRs went up 64% in the last 5 years. Condos, 62%. And the biggest increase went to townhomes at 67%. And the median townhome in 2017 was $485,000. Today it's $720,000.
Now, can you help for everybody else to describe what's the difference between a condo and a townhome?
Yeah. So with a condo, you own a portion of the common areas. The common areas will be the entry, the pool area if there is one, the clubhouse if there is one, the landscaping, you know, so you own the air within your condo, and then you have an ownership portion of the common areas.
Gotcha.
With a townhome, you actually own the land that it's built on, as well as owning a portion of the common areas. And a lot of people don't know that, so that's a big difference. Also, townhomes can feel a little more autonomous, you know, because they'll have the attached garage on the lower level, and you know, a living area above that, and then bedrooms above that, and you know, whereas a condo, you've got shared walls on both sides, you're parking, walking a little distance, hopefully a little distance to your actual unit, you know. But I'm not, no matter what I say, I don't want to discourage anybody on any of these routes, because from a financial perspective, all of them are better for you than renting.
Yeah, and I think you pointed that out really well, is that the growth in equity over time isn't lost on something like a condo or townhome.
Sure.
And it affords you the opportunity to maybe buy into a specific school district area, or even into a certain lifestyle area, right? Because, you know, we think about places like, you know, downtown Long Beach, we think about Bixby Knolls, areas like that that have, you know, really good walkability in great areas, and then, but maybe they're touching on the $1.2 million, $1.1 million purchase price, and you're looking for something to get in. You know, just something to start so you're in the neighborhood, good school district, and offering a great opportunity to your family.
Getting your foot in the door,
Yeah.
you know, that's what it's all about. And you and I both know as parents, the most important thing that you can do for your kid is raise them in a good neighborhood, you know, because these are the influences that are going to kind of guide them, and when you're not there.
Yeah.
You know, the people they're around, the schools that they go to, and things like that. And I'm probably going to edit that out because it's so not PC, but it's so true. You know, like raising your family in a good neighborhood where there's a sense of community and people look after each other is priceless.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like real estate is based off of location, right?
Yeah.
A great investment is based off of great location. That's where your
absolutely
equity
right.
play is going to change, is because you bought into a great neighborhood.
That's absolutely right. So one more thing, just going back to these price points and the equity growth since 2017. So yeah, in terms of sales price, townhomes win at 67%.
Yeah.
So then somebody would say, okay, so a townhome is the best investment. And I would say not so fast, you know, because you have to look at HOA.
Yeah.
You know, how much are you paying in HOA dues? Because that's not figured into, you know, your equity growth.
Yeah.
You know, and how does that compare to the maintenance costs of a single family residence? And the truth is, every property is different, every situation's different, and there's no clear-cut answer that one is better than the other.
So let's talk a little bit more about that HOA perspective.
Just a second.
Pockies are so good.
Bro, I just lay in bed the cookies and cream Pockies.
And they go down so easy.
They're just so wonderful. They're so wonderful.
I love Pockies.
Yeah. Okay, so we had to make a small adjustment here on the set in Mr. Sandoval's beautiful backyard. All right.
So what we wanted to touch on, and that I wanted to break down, is really the HOA and what's included in the HOA. You can easily be lost in the amount that you're paying for the HOA, but the question really comes up is, what are you getting? Okay, because albeit I understand it's an extra expense that you're tacking on, but if you understand what you're getting, it may be offsetting some other costs, and in some ways it could be helping increase the value. Because if an HOA is properly run and it is holding on to the reserves and paying for things, they're less likely to issue the supplements that you were talking about.
Sure.
Or the special assessments.
Yeah.
Sorry. And they're able to keep the property attractive so that other homeowners want to buy. So when you go to sell in the future, or you go to cash in on your equity, that equity is there plus some because of the way they've maintained the property.
Absolutely, absolutely. So HOA fees are dues that are paid by each owner. What each HOA covers can be found in the C, and Rs, which is the covenants, conditions, and restrictions. But HOA dues usually cover maintenance of common areas and general repairs of those areas. But you got to check the C and Rs to see what exactly the rules are. Some HOAs will cover the plumbing that's in the walls, others won't.
Yeah.
You know, the plumbing that is executed on your unit might be your responsibility. It might be covered by your HOA. These are just some of the things to look out for. And then HOA dues do rise, but most HOAs are restricted to a 10% increase year over year. And I don't think I've seen HOAs that consistently take advantage of a 10 8% annual increase?
Well, I mean, once again, it just depends upon the condominium association or townhome association that you're in, because I have seen some excessive increases, and those were usually due to some problem that happened with, you know, there was a major leak that was unexpected.
Yeah.
So there was, like you said, there's a special assessment that needs to be added on so that they could address the project, because they underfunded, you know, what you were paying on the monthly. So this goes back to what I was saying is HOAs are seeing a higher increase. Like, we're seeing an average closer to about $400 a month. It used to be $250, then we moved it up to $300, then to $350. Well, now we're up to $400 a month on these HOAs. But I'm seeing a lot more included in them as well. Sometimes trash and sewer, trash and water. Sometimes you'll get electricity if they've got solar on there. So there's some other factors that could be considered in there, just to keep in mind that it's not, there could be some other benefits included in there. So you want to look into that association HOA a little bit more.
Absolutely. One thing that I really recommend to buyers is walk the complex. The way the complex is maintained is a direct reflection of the management of the HOA. There's a really unfortunate transaction that I had a couple years back, right over here by Los Cerritos Park here in Long Beach. And the HOA was made up of mostly, you know, people who didn't want to spend money. You know, they didn't want to raise their own dues, so they deferred the maintenance. And when it came time for this couple to sell their unit, the special assessments were coming down simultaneously. And what it was termite damage throughout this giant wooden complex. And it was an incredible amount of money that was going to be required, not only from the HOA, but from each individual owner as well. So look around, be mindful of the way the complex is maintained. HOAs can spend too little money and too little effort, but they can also spend too much.
Yes.
You know?
Well, I've seen some that have like a bellboy in the front, the guy that like brings you your luggage, and groceries,
a door guy,
doorman. And so there's some that are ridiculous, and you may not need that kind of service. You know, it just depends on what the group has thought is necessary, you know, for them to be able to spend. So just look into it. Look into the details of that stuff before you just kind of accept it blindly.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The other thing to note is that when you are financing a condo, and we talk about this with, what you just kind of touched on it with the budget and special assessments, is that when financing is done, you know, we've talked about this before, you are qualifying for the loan as much as the property has to qualify. And California state law requires that an HOA is managed in a certain way. And so let's take a buyer that's putting down 10%, wants to buy a property. The HOA's budget and their balance sheet is all supposed to be put together so that we can see how are they spending their money, do they have sufficient amount in reserves, and are they operating out of two separate accounts. You know, I've had conversations with presidents of HOAs, and just know most presidents of HOAs typically are homeowners themselves. It's not always a management company that's taking
resident owners.
Resident owners, and so they're just like you and me, and so, you know, they don't know what they don't know.
They are not like you and me. Who runs for president of an HOA, dude? Let's keep it real here, you know.
I think I would.
We're speaking to our people. You would be great, but you would definitely have a door guy.
Yeah, I probably would. I'd be going for the gym. I'd be popping for the gym.
Yeah.
Peloton bikes all around here.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is that they don't always know. So I've had to educate some presidents of HOAs and tell them, like, hey, you should be operating on a reserve account. In other words, like a checking and savings, where they're paying their bills from, but they also have money saved up for special projects, and based on what they have in their CC&Rs and in their meetings. So like we look at the minutes of their meetings and the CC&Rs just to make sure everything is the way it's supposed to. So financing, remember, you know, always take a breath, because the HOA needs to qualify as much as the condo itself, as much as you.
Especially if it's FHA.
Yeah, and so FHA is a different process. Nowadays, you can get what's called a spot approval for...
I'm sorry, have you done that successfully?
I have.
Okay,
We
awesome.
actually managed a couple of FHA spot approvals. We had a very good and compliant HOA who had gone through the process before, but they had let it lapse.
Yeah.
So just to kind of give you information, a condo association can apply for an FHA approval status that lasts 2 years. And what they're doing is they're submitting their paperwork, their balance sheet, their
resident owner and renters ratios.
Exactly. So they submit a questionnaire and just divulge everything that's going on there. So non-occupying co-bars, like you said, those that have PO boxes and stuff like that. And so to make sure that it is compliant with FHA guidelines and rules. Now, all of that is the same as what we talked about for someone getting regular financing, like conventional financing. It's just a little bit of a preemptive process. Now with the spot approval, you can go in like a conventional loan and be approved with FHA as long as everything works out. Usually the smaller condo units that are 20 units are the ones that typically have some struggle to them because they are mismanaged. Maybe they don't have a management company involved. Maybe the owners haven't put together everything the way they should.
Sure.
And so that's where we have most of the problems. The larger complexes, those are usually easier for FHA approvals because they're going through the strict process already.
So one of the major benefits of a complex getting FHA approved is it immediately increases the value of each of the units because now people can afford to buy them with less down and it brings more people into the buyer pool. Hence, more demand for the complex. So if your complex is not FHA approved and you are on your HOA board or your neighbor's on the HOA board and you guys are friends, talk to them. Talk to them about getting FHA approval because you'll see a significant increase in the value of your units simply because of the demand in the buyer pool that will be increased.
Yeah, because you're bringing in more possible people to come in to qualify. And an FHA buyer versus a conventional buyer, there's not really a difference between the buyer. It's just the amount of money saved up and available, or maybe they're, we've all had to deal with COVID, right? So maybe their debt to income ratio needs to be a little bit higher because they were off of work because nobody worked during 2020, right? We had so much time off. So their qualifications may be different just based off of those things. A lot of people poo-poo FHA as if it's, lower FICO score buyers or, those that struggle with financing, and that's not true. It's just an economic way of approaching lending. And so that's a really positive thing, like you just said, is that opening up that buyer pool, you really are increasing the value of your own property by opening that up a little bit more by going through the process. And
there is a little bit of shade that's casted towards FHA, but if you look at the products, you look at the interest rates, the amount you have to put down. When interest rates are so low, why spend more cash than you have to? When you're borrowing at such a low rate. I mean, what is it, would you say, Julio, for every $100,000 you borrow, it's about $600 a month?
Yeah, correct. In payment, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance.
Yeah, so $600,000 a month for every $100,000 you borrow. You borrow $400,000, that's $2,400 a month plus HOA. We've never seen, in my career at least, we've never seen money this accessible.
Yeah, this is inexpensive to borrow against. You see a lot of people that are leveraging loans more now, keeping their money to themselves, using it to invest in the stock market or in other places. So yeah, it does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, FHA is a great product, absolutely a fantastic product, and we've both done a bunch of deals with them, so we by no means want to discourage. And a lot of the sellers now are not doing what they used to do. They're like, oh, I want conventional only. Remember that?
Yeah.
And no, I'm not seeing that anymore.
No, and I think it's easy to close an FHA loan. So as a seller, accepting an FHA borrower, is just as easy as accepting someone who's getting conventional financing.
Same pot at the end of the rainbow, huh?
Yeah, and you all get paid out the same amount, so it's like there's no difference really between the loan when you're
closing in the same timeline.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. It's really a great loan product.
Now, we haven't touched on the PUD, the plan unit development. Do you mind if I touch on that a little bit and just kind of bring that up?
I do mind, Julio.
Do you?
Yeah. I actually won't stand for it. No, that's awesome, man. And actually, this is an opportunity for me to learn something too.
So what a plan unit development is that essentially they've created a community. So you have single family homes that are in a community that have an HOA. So it's usually something with a gate, a single one-way in entrance, one-way out kind of scenario. They have that HOA because there are some common areas to them, but you have a single family house. So it's not that it is any different. The HOA actually helps cover the common areas, like we had streets, the security posts, the gates in the front, things like that. So you end up with a little bit more security in these scenarios. And you, in some situations, you end up with a little bit better pricing and purchase price. Now,
why is that?
That's starting to change, but
sure.
Well, because if you think about it from an overall payment perspective, when a borrower qualifies, there's usually a certain payment most people are looking for depending upon the scenarios, right? You'll see a lot of PUDs or plan unit developments out in, Riverside, Corona area, because the way they're developed are communities. We do have some of them over here in like Harbor City, Long Beach areas where they've converted some homes, some manufactured homes into PUDs. So they were originally manufactured homes, now they're bolted to the property, they're sold with an APN, so assessor's parcel number.
As single family residences.
As single family residents, but they call them PUDs. And so they do have an HOA to maintain the community as they've gone through the conversions. So because of that, there's an HOA, it affects the monthly for people, and because people kind of don't understand what a PUD is, that all they see is an HOA, and so they're like, well, no.
Yeah, but there's savings on the mortgage. What kind of income restrictions are you seeing on PUDs?
There's really no income restrictions. It's like a single family house. So all it is financing, and you don't, unlike what we have to go through with a condo, where we have to go through condo questionnaires and investigate balance sheets, things like that. With a PUD, you don't have to. It's because most of the cost of that HOA is into areas like a road or like security fence and guard posts,
landscaping,
things like that that are affecting the beauty of the area, but not the unit itself. And so because of that, the units or the home's value can continue to increase. There's no restriction on being able to qualify for it with needing HOA dogs or paperwork, extra paperwork that comes sometimes with condos and townhouses.
Yep. So what is really the distinguishing difference between a standard single family residence and a PUD? Like, is it there's some kind of approval process that it goes through with local government, or the way it's initially financed when it's developed? Like, okay.
So it's really on the initial development. It's how the contractor, has the land and then it breaks it out. Okay. So it's how they created the original designation. A PUD can also be called a condo because it has what's called a condominium PUD rider to your deed. To say that it's within this community. Okay. They also refer to PUDs or plan unit developments as detached condos because they're not attached to anything as a single family home. So a lot of interesting names and documentation. It's more on the title portion of it, but you own the land. You just have an interest in the common areas like the road and security gates and stuff like that up front.
Sure, man. Yeah. And then, so that's the thing about condominiums. Condominium is a reference to the way the covenants are written. Like, it's written in condominium, and then there's another one called CoOps, which is a little different. You actually get like a stock certificate when you buy a co-op. Have you ever done anything with a co-op?
No, I know of them because we had to do research to see if we wanted to work on financing, and we do have a financing available. It's harder with co-ops because a cooperative agreement means that you as tenants have all decided that you are going to agree to pay for things when the time comes. So if you have 20 owners in this cooperative agreement and the roof goes out, unlike an HOA where you have an amount of funds that are available in reserves, the co-op you don't. Everybody goes to everybody and like, hey, we need $20,000 in order to fix this roof. We have 20 people here, so everybody needs to chip in $1,000.
Yeah.
And you could have Fred in Unit C that says, well, forget you, I don't have it, I don't want to pay it.
Yeah, no, it's a trip, man.
And that causes a little bit more problems.
Leisure World is a really good example of a co-op around us. And you look at the different co-ops, and you'll have like one shiny, beautiful co-op, and then right next door, there's a giant pine tree, the pine needles all over the roof, and in the older windows and the older finishes, so like different co-ops operate very differently in terms of maintenance and the quality and care with which they upkeep the properties. And so,
so because of co-ops being cooperative agreements like that, it does require different financing. So it's not like standard financing. You have to get a bank that's willing to hold on to the loan and provide that loan specifically for a co-op. It's 20% down typically, so you can't get away with anything less. And you have to have a certain amount of reserves to be able to get it financed.
Sure.
So it's a little bit different. To be honest, they always look more attractive because they're lower in price, and the reason
because they're so hard to get into.
Yeah, and they're so hard to get financed, and so your pool of buyers for those properties is less.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tougher. I would say that for those that are in co-ops, it's always best if you kind of shift over to the HOA. You'll watch your whole value explode.
Oh yeah.
Just because you go into the common market pool.
Oh my gosh, what a great idea, just like transferring it into condominium, getting it rewritten into condominium.
Yeah.
And then you can get an FHA approval. And I mean, the co-ops around here are significantly less. The ones on Atherton, if those were available with conventional conforming financing, they would go up by like 25%.
Easy.
Yeah, they're wonderful. They all have garages, and they're all electric though. I have a hard time cooking on an electric stove, dude. Yeah, I don't like cooking on electric, man.
That's interesting. Anytime I've gone somewhere and used an electric stove, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. But yeah, I'm so much more comfortable with a flame.
Yeah.
And being able, I don't know, manage the heat better.
Oh, dude,
I burn my eggs on an electric stove all the time.
Bro, yeah. No, I think it goes back to like our genetic roots as cavemen. There's something about an open flame and just cooking Speaking of cooking, I made chorizo breakfast burritos this morning. I should have brought you one.
Oh, I can't eat that. I'm on a diet. It's Mondays through Friday diet, but that sounds wonderful.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, well,
you still have to have your fun, dude.
No,
diet
I am.
And
the exercise.
Dude, just exercise and watch what you eat a little bit, but you still gotta be able to have your chorizo.
Oh, I know. I love it. Trust me. It's just that how like anything Angie and I are working towards the goal of our 20-year anniversary.
Oh, cool.
And I challenged her at first to say, like, hey, babe, why don't we get back to our weight that we were when we got married? And she's like, I'm that weight now. I went, damn, I'm not. I'm like, damn, babe, you look good.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm so sorry.
Good for Angie, man.
Gained 20 pounds. I'm like, forget it.
Yeah, good for Angie.
Let's not do this challenge.
Yeah. So, like, Julio and I really don't have TMI meters. We just let it go. Yeah.
Why? You get to know us so much better.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I was telling Julio before this podcast, I'm addicted to Pockies right now, and it's a problem.
Oh gosh, Pockies are so good.
They're so good. If you've never had Pockies, once you pop, you can't stop. Please don't buy Pockies. And I'm sorry, Pocky, as a corporation, that I'm disparaging you in this way, but they're addictive. I'm thinking about them right now, the cookies and cream variation. It's incredible.
Dude, any like it's just that waffle straw-like cookie with dipped in. I mean, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant idea.
So brilliant. It's so simple. It's always the simple things that pop. Yeah, dude. Where are our parrots today, man?
Nah, well, I told you they rotate around the neighborhood, and they'll be back in probably another 3 months.
Can you talk to their agent and see if we can get an appearance sooner?
I have put in a request, but it was quickly ignored and sent back. My wife's car was covered in turds, so that's how I know it was sent back.
Nice, well done. All right, so last time I said this, but we had issues with the sun messing up with our cameras, and one of them overheated, and which is why we got this awesome scrim. But I have to say, I did my first deal with Julio and Angie, and I've been an avid advocate of not only the loan products, but also the service that they provide. And so if you're considering refining, or if you're going to be considering buying, whether if it's in the next 4 months or the next 4 years, it's really good to consult with somebody with the level of experience and care that they provide. And so, Julio, what's your phone number?
310-941-8074, and it's written on most bathroom walls and bars.
Nice. Yeah. No, I actually, and then they come and paint over it, and then somehow the next week it's right back up there. Yeah. Did you learn that from Dumb and Dumber? Remember the sequence?
Yeah.
Who was that? Seabass?
Yeah. Exactly.
Thanks so much for watching, you guys. All right. Good one, dude.
Thanks. You too. That was awesome.